And greetings, everyone. And truly, I am live. It is not a recording that I'm posting as a live. And I haven't done a real live, including mainly solo, in a long time. I think it's been long enough. So I'm really excited to bring you what I'm titling. It's one of the slides in my master classes: Rigorous, Ruthless, and Fast. And I'll give context to that as we go along. But it's great to see you all here in early February. I hope you're having a great, relatively early start to the year and that all is going well. It's been a whirlwind for me the last couple of months, from my trip to Europe to my travels even across the US, to the holiday season, to kicking off the year, to a whole bunch of new initiatives that I have going on. So I want to try and relatively concise and not take forever, hopefully about 30 minutes, to talk about rigorous, ruthless, and fast and the context behind that, but also give a couple of some updates as well. So, first of all, next week, probably Wednesday or Thursday, because some of you have been asking, "Hey, Angelo, do you know Ron?" And when you say Ron, I'm assuming you mean Ron Diamond. I've known Ron for a long, long time. I like Ron. I first met him, of all places, away from our homes in Silicon Valley, way back, I would say, in January of 2017. He's a fast learner, very bright. We have different opinions on certain things in the family office world. So finally, due to popular request, what appears to be next Wednesday or Thursday, we're going to do a live on my family office TV platform. It's going to be me and the Diamond, Mr. Diamond himself, and we're going to cover within 1 hour and hopefully Q&A, anything and everything family offices. So stay tuned. Probably by Friday or over the weekend, I'll make the more formal announcement. But it has been long in the making, I guess you could say. So, aha. I want to. Okay. Someone is probably sending something that they shouldn't be sending via the chat features. And by the way, I do want to encourage the chat features. Some of you know me personally. You may want to text me. I'm happy to answer everything. But let me at least kind of get started, if nothing else. Okay, well, this person who sent something I am going to comment on early. Have some self-respect. If you're going to send something in the comment or DM feature, really self-promotional, relative on a podcast or a platform to various streaming and other platforms, I mean, that's very off etiquette within the family office community. I'm just saying. I probably get accused, although I think, quite the gentleman, of being a little blunt and direct, of talking about things others don't talk about. I mean, I am going to talk a little bit about that. Please, just use a little common sense. Rigorous, ruthless, and fast. Having been in this for 20 years, close to it, having been around the world, having known and met with well over 1,000 single family offices and knowing well several hundred, there are some times when you just meet a single family office. It could be the principal, the key executive, or even a non-key executive. And especially if you go in there, you just know it's just so obvious when they stand out and they're really, really good. Now, part of the reason why that is the case is because there's a dearth of it, and when you see it, it's so stark. So I came up with the 3 letters: rigorous. Ruthless it's a little strong. I don't maybe mean it exactly as the dictionary definition, but I come on, I need to be a little clickbaity and get your attention. And fast. And for the most part, they're definitely fast. Now, when it's an important decision that could have significant consequences, they still move fast, but within the parameters of a level of governance and structure. But I have known, especially when the principals are active in the family office, specifically on something investing centric, the opportunity for the family to make a quick decision and move fast. There's one family office I'm dealing with on the West Coast, multiple billions. You would probably know the name of the principal. Wow, like their whole team is just really, really good and very, very well paid. And we're going to talk a little bit about employment and competition and compensation to a degree, because that plays into my comment of being rigorous, ruthless, and fast. You think I should trademark that trio? I kind of like it. So psychologists have identified perhaps the most common trait among successful people defined as billionaires. I don't know if my hands-on experience, I perfectly agree with it, but some of the commentary that they come up with is being conscientious, being thorough, being meticulous. And broadly speaking, I would agree with that. They're hardworking, which can be diligent and efficient, well organized, methodical, ambitious, as opposed to aimless. How about that? And persevering, which is very common, showing tenacity and persistence. Now, you think you know this already, but when you have psychologists and professors doing research and deep researchers who I would respect, and a lot of them not even here in America, and they're coming up with certain level of traits that you see, and that's going to follow down from the family to effectively the executives. I guarantee you they're rigorous, and they don't need to be rigorous over a long period of time. They're rigorous by the word that I just described. They're conscientious, they're thorough, they're meticulous. They take pride in not their confidence, because that can't be measured, their competence, which to a degree is quantifiable and could be measured. Ruthless again, meaning that, again, most people, these are people that don't suffer fools easily. Why don't I put it that way? Especially if they're the family, but even if they're the executive, they're a key executive in the family. It's important that, again, most people are going to be blah. Most people are going to be average. You don't want to be that. You don't want to be average. And you can't always be kind. I'm sorry. You can't always be so perfect and politically correct to everyone. It is a business. It's a unique for-profit business, the single family office, and you do need to make what could be some tough decisions. So being rigorous and being ruthless, in my slightly nicer definition, and being fast. Like some family offices, including the one that I just described on the West Coast, they're just better. They look the part, they talk the part, and more important, because that's a little superficial, they act the part. They take actions, and these are obvious. Now, I spoke about this in a little bit of the brief mini masterclass preview I did for Danielle Patterson last week, and I loved being on, and I appreciate her and her series. Most remote and virtual family offices, I like selective outsourcing if it's done right. Technology is wickedly important. It's part of my big three: people, technology, and systems, to make a quote unquote successful family office. But most remote family offices, I'm sorry, you don't want to hear this, I know, they don't work, especially if you're onboarding new employees, especially if it's younger, the team, and they don't have the experiences yet. You want the anonymity and freedom of being remote, because we got overly comfortable with that, especially during COVID. But I'm just here to tell you, when I look at the family offices that are great, like the one that I'm describing, they're effectively 90% in person. I don't really want it to be that way. It'd make all of our lives easier if it wasn't. I'm just telling you what I see. And I don't know, maybe it's hard to be rigorous, ruthless, and fast if you're virtual and remote. Now, I know I'm going to get big pushback on that. And I'm not saying with an experienced team, you may not be correct. It's possible if you do it right. Oh, I got a whole thing on technology and systems and structures, but why don't I save that to a virtual family office masterclass? I'll also add in one other thing that I tend to notice. They tend to be obsessed. We tend to think of the word obsessed as being a bit of a negative connotation. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. An obsessed mind, well, it's prepared, isn't it? You got to go above and beyond what your employment contract says. You got to go above and beyond to be great. Do you think that LeBron James just does the bare minimum to be acceptable? Look at his stats. He's been great for over 20 years. Is he a physical freak? Sure. But does he do incredible things to take care of himself that he spends money on, that he spends time and energy that equates to money? Of course he does. And that's what the great ones do. They might have a little bit of ego in them relative to that perspective. They desire to be great because they know other people are talented too. Focus, and this is what I notice about the family offices that are incredible, they focus on identifying and executing on the right opportunity. That's more important than wasting time, energy, and resources on mediocre opportunities. You only have so many hours in the day. We all have a lot going on, even if you're both effective and efficient. And I think efficiency can be a little bit overrated, but a subject for a bit of a different time. I think it could also make you soft, which is not good. You don't want to be that. It's a very tough and competitive world. The more that I travel around to Europe, to the Middle East, brother and sisters here in the US, there's some tough competition out there. There's some really, really talented professionals that are grinding it, that are putting in the work, that are being paid top level money, well earning seven figures, sometimes in certain investment scenarios, almost treated like a mini internal fund where they're getting something like a 1 in 10, they're getting a carry, they're getting bonus structure. Again, we should probably have Trish Botoff on and talk about compensation in the family office for top 1% professionals, of course, or do that as a masterclass. All those things are coming, but I think you need to hear that one more time. They focus on identifying and executing on the right opportunities, which are worth much more than a bunch of mediocre ones. Do you think in a sport like basketball, you have a greater chance of winning if you have a great player, preferably two very good after that, or a bunch of okay players and a really deep bench? You may have a decent regular season. You're probably not going to win a championship that way. You need greatness in there. The leaders, do you know where to focus your time as the SFO executive to make sure the investment of your time matches the key priorities that are effectively laid down from the family but articulated at the family office level? SFO leaders need to constantly ask, is the SFO's culture, structure, and process aligned with the family's vision, brand, and the priorities? And I know this sounds 101. Trust me, existing family offices are what I just spoke about so far. Three quarters are no, they're not doing that, let alone optimizing it in the way that I'm describing. A lot of them are even kind of broadly, like I did speak about in Danielle's program last week, they're not even really covering the right problem or the opportunity that needs to be uncovered first before you put your time, your energy, and your resources behind that. Now, dedicated single family offices are not without their challenges too. I hinted at one of them earlier, attracting and retaining talent. If you want to build a great family office and you're going to hire top tier people, they have options. And now, according to Angelo, you're wanting them to come into the office. That may annoy some of them. You really better pay them great. And I'm going to state, you should. Of course you should. Now, I have a whole plan about how you onboard an employee. I call it a family office playbook. They definitely need a 30-day plan. They really need a 100-day plan and kind of a 1-year plan. The worst thing you could do is hire the wrong people. Probably the second worst thing you could do is hire the right people and don't optimize them. And part of that does fall upon you. What's their game plan for success? What is their first 30, 100, 180 days going to look like? And this relates to some of the consulting and project work that I do for family offices. As I strive to make them much better, more effective than they are now. And they can often do it with the current people that they have. But there are times where that needs to be changed. Now, this doesn't apply quite as much in a single family office, but conceptually, aspects of it do. Your best employees should be paid, like 10x the worst. Companies, listen, companies that equalize salaries for the same job, but not the same performance, are graveyards for top performers. Stop playing it safe. Stop just wanting, they're not going to steal from me. I trust them. That's a hell of a low benchmark. That's the only benchmark you have in a single family office. Don't you want greatness? There's going to be so many challenges pulling at your money: taxations, government, sovereign risk, distributions, family members, dynamics, so many things happening. Don't get me started on the negatives. It's a long list of challenges. Like, you need top tier people. Why the hell would you want to have a single family office if it's not going to be great? Just don't. Maybe a bank, a private bank, or an MFO is simply a better option. Now, I know the reality. Multi-billion-dollar and decabillionaire families, of course, they have their own single family office, because it has the potential to be the best possible thing for them. And around the world, especially when I'm looking at what's going on in the Middle East and Asia, family offices are exploding. Singapore is a tiny country, kind of came from nowhere. How many single family offices do you think are registered there now? I'll let that sink in a second. Anyone have an answer for me in the chat? Again, this is really live. It's not a video, unless you're watching this on a recording after the fact of me doing it now. It's 700. A little tiny country like that. The world is changing. How you think the world works is totally different now than what you learned in school and how it worked 10 years ago. Now, I don't want to get into a geopolitical rant, an economic rant, or any of those. I do enough of that. We could save that for other times. Jocko Willink, do you know who Jocko is? Anyone? My God, he's like a legendary figure in Navy SEAL leader, podcaster, New York Times bestseller. Jocko Willink. Extreme Ownership. Buy that book right now. Drop my podcast or webcast here. Just drop it. Just go to Amazon and get his book. When a team takes ownership of their problems, the problems get solved. I think often in the family office, you don't have a how problem. You have a who problem. It's a people issue. When the team takes ownership of their problems, the problems get solved. Now, that's a very simplistic thesis of a pretty long book, but there's lots of lessons in there. And this goes back to, oh, and by the way, I brought that up to that multi-billion-dollar family office that I knew instantly upon talking with them that they were incredible. The principal even met Jocko before, and of course we read the book. They're on top of things. When I went to Vienna, there was just one or two family offices that just popped out. The Middle East, Asia. And here too, in Silicon Valley, in Austin, in Miami, in Milwaukee, in Chicago, in New York. It's not enough, though. It's not enough. Every problem consumes, you've heard me say this before, time and energy, which equates to resources. And not procuring the right solution could be devastating because you may not know it until well after the fact. Or, worse, you could be solving the wrong problem is kind of tantamount to not really solving the actual problem at all. Top SFOs, even if they're virtual, well, for a variety of reasons, they still need structures, they still need domicile, and you better know what you're doing there. Like, where are you domiciling? How are you structuring the assets relative to the SFO management company? Do you have integrated with a private trust company? Is it more registered, unregistered? What state? This is important shit. Like, you have to know this, or you have to know someone like me who could help to guide you along that way. But top SFO CEOs, even in a virtual family office, know that there's certain things that you just can't outsource. I mean, my God, have you all ever heard of the great Peter Drucker, of Jim Collins, of Good to Great? These are iconic consultants that they spoke about this, or, well, Drucker, Collins isn't quite that old, but like decades and decades ago, like in the 40s and 50s. Vision, which effectively is where you're going, culture, which is how you operate, and hiring, especially the executive team, kind of how you'll build it, how you'll get there. Some of you have heard me say average, good, and great. And by the way, and the questions could come in, so this really is live unless you're listening to it in a recording. So feel free to kind of ask me anything. But after I finish my little thing here in 5 or even 10 more minutes, actually probably sooner, I tell you this is going to be quick. I'll have a couple of announcements that some of you may want to hear and some kind of new and cool things. But I did mention average, good, and great. Average family offices want to be left alone. I know not mathematically a correct comment, but most family offices are very average. Good family offices want to be mentored. Great family offices want to be told the truth. Some family offices I've seen, when it's a unique, it may be a distressed investment opportunity, they feel they're going to be getting an advantageous price, they move fast. I don't care if they have a committee. The executive calls up the principal. We have a special situation. We have the dry powder to do it. Here's what it looks like. They might bring in at the end of the month, we have the executive committee, which is usually sleepy and gets shit done. But no, there's no time for that. Like, either you as a principal make a decision, or they're getting paid to be in that role. They need to be aware of this now and help to formulate what our decision is going to be. Like, this is just what I see in greatness. Like I said, they're rigorous, they're ruthless, and they're fast. And yes, they do take advantage of distressed opportunities, because that's where a lot of opportunities are in real estate specifically now, and in certain other ventures and fields, I guess you could say, in sectors around the world. They have the dry powder. They don't have to worry about a fund structure and pleasing LPs. What a pain in the ass that is. They could have a long-term perspective. It's their kitchen. It's not a restaurant where they need to appease others, including a whole bunch of regulators for the most part and things like that. Again, when you come in to these family offices that are great, like I just want to ask them hundreds of questions. I definitely learn more from them than they probably learn from me, but they know that it helps me be able to better serve other family offices and bring up the industry. I literally think I could take someone with no knowledge, and here's a bad SFO that I'm not telling you it's bad. Here's a mediocre one, and here's a great one. and you'll be able to identify it with really not even having a lot of context behind it. It's just a reality that I see them as being like that. And again, what did I call this? Rigorous, they're ruthless, and they are fast. They make decisions. And if it's really important, they may not make a decision there at the moment. I get it. Possibly not even the next day. But a decision is going to be made quickly relative to the importance of what, especially if it's an opportunity. Is it a risk or is it an opportunity? And does the risk need to be mitigated and addressed sooner rather than later? And is the opportunity here right now but could be gone tomorrow or next week? They move fast. Okay, I don't think I have too many questions coming in from my 20 to 22 minutes, whatever I gave on that. Again, I know a lot of my interviews are very, very long form, so I do want to do some solos where they're more succinct, where they're more to the point when it's an opportunity to engage, I guess you could say, with the audience. And I still have time for a Q&A, but a couple of updates. So many of you have asked me, Angelo, would love to participate in your master classes, but like you said, creating or reimagining into a top 1% family office or sovereign risk in family offices. I mean, there are dozens and dozens of hours of content. They're on the pricey side. And yes, it's a lot of my life's work, and they are deep. And even to me, even whatever 24 to 26 hours, each one is not enough time. Bringing in dream team and experts and really doing a deep dive. So I have created a series of something I'll probably do monthly that is more 4-hour programs. I may do them in the 4 hours of one day, but I have one upcoming, which is the Monday, the 12th and Tuesday, the 13th from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, both nights back to back. And it's up on my website called Exceptionalism in the Family Office. Most content in the family office community is tired, boring, and definitely, really honestly, not that practical. And yes, I do try to make it engaging, to be provocative, to be powerful, and to be practical. I think being practical is really, really important. We don't talk about that enough in business in general, let alone definitively in the family office world. So, and yes, there's a fee. Of course there is. I'm a capitalist. I'm providing quality, exclusive content based on my experiences in this industry for a long time. I get it. My longer programs are expensive and may not be a good fit. This program is priced incredibly cost effectively, well under $1,000. You could see the pricing online if you were to go to my angelorobles.com, my website, and part of it's going to be on my homepage. But if you go to the masterclass page, you'll get more information, a quick video if you want, about the program and some of the topics that I cover. And I give away a lot in 4 hours. So it could be something that you could enjoy. If you can't make that one, I'll redo Exceptionalism in the Family Office here and there throughout the year, but other ones, family offices and technology, a shortened version of sovereign risk, lots of different subjects I could cover in what I love to do, teach, and what the industry that I love, specifically the single family office community. I will be doing something probably on a monthly consistent basis for only single family offices, not for, and I love some of you providers and some of you that do good work in the community. I know thousands and many of you are friends of mine, but I think you'll also agree that what the families and the real single family office executives want is the opportunity for a private forum. I want no guest. I don't want a guest speaker. I want just us. I facilitated over 400 peer-to-peer dialogues with family offices. I also allocate. Like, these are things that I want to have a conversation with. And I want to make sure that everyone actively listens and hopefully actively participates, because I want to keep it intimate, preferably 4 to 6. Maybe I grow it out to doing 8 or 12, and maybe I do several a month. So if you are a direct family member or an SFO executive, and I may vet you on that if I don't know you, reach out to me. My email is angelo@angelorobles.com. Or if you're watching this through one of my platforms, LinkedIn or others, just send me a direct message. I'm happy to invite you to that. That's something that for now and the foreseeable short term, it's very casual. It's just me and an intimate group of families, and we're talking shop, with probably a notch of a focus on investing in opportunities. And by the way, I know you could look at me as being Dr. Doom and Mr. Geopolitics and all the problems and why families don't last generationally, and all those things are true. But right now, I see tremendous opportunity. If you got the dry powder, you got the guts, and you got the patience, now is an incredible time. It's an incredible time for aspects in real estate, in energy and commodities, in certain earlier stage tech and AI. And yes, I'm going to bring up a word that 2 or 3 years ago I was active on. And a reminder, last year was kind of a hell of a year for crypto. There were some incredible opportunities out there that are often going to be very liquid, unlike a lot of more private deals. So if you want to be a part of this inner think tank, this Zoom, private, not public, not recorded, no guest, no outsiders, you're either an allocator effectively or you're not. Period. Reach out to me. I'd love to potentially have you be a part of that. I'll end with, there might be a question. Let's see. I'm with especially. Natasha, welcome. I'm assuming you're still in the great state of Colorado. And she's basically asking, as a PE firm specializing in commercial real estate, what would you recommend is the best way to approach SFOs to collaborate? And she was specific, especially first time via LinkedIn. So that last comment is interesting. I actually think that LinkedIn is a pretty damn good tool. Now, does everyone who you do a search on, if you have the premium level and you search for single family office, is everyone even close to being a real single family office? Well, that's laughable. I think we all know the answer to that is a very big in capital letters. No. But some are. I don't know. Is it 30 or 40%? Probably something like that. So you'll have to shift through some of the bad to get to the good. And you'll have to reach out with a value proposition to them. Now, again, outside of maybe office space, I think that if it's direct opportunities in real estate, I think are broadly interesting to a lot of people. I think there is tremendous opportunity if you have the dry powder into certain deals. That's not to say that I don't believe in being an LP. I think for some that could be the better option. And when I have Ron Diamond on and we kind of co-interview each other, so to speak, next week, that is something that we'll probably disagree a bit on. And that's good. Ron and I are not going to agree on everything. We might not even agree on half the things. I'm not so sure. I'm probably a little more active on the practical and practice management and best practices side. But obviously, I have strong thoughts on investment, the economy, and we're just different. We have different political beliefs and all that, and that is good. Ron's a great guy, and I want to have on people that there could be some disagreement with. So, it's more complicated than that, Natasha, but that really is kind of relatively a simple answer. And there are some times where you do have to pay, where you do have to host dinners and programs and attend conferences. The family office sector sometimes can be a very difficult one. And there are certain databases and PitchBook and things like that, it could be 15,000, but it could be worth the price relative to the value that you get. I'm happy to answer other questions, but I guess the last thing is I'm looking to do something big, something unique. Because actually, and coming from me, Dr. Doom of the family office world, all I kind of see is opportunity now. Distressed assets, panic sellers. I see incredible potential if capital and patience. A genius intellect can be wasted on the wrong opportunity. But part of genius as well is brilliant opportunity selection. Now, I hinted at some of this earlier in that you need to be focused on the right problem or opportunity or question. But why don't we be more positive and talk a little more about the right opportunity? I also think the rising generation needs to be better educated on businesses that make for great investments and how to properly value those kind of investments. And educating and engaging the rising generation in real world business acquisition and building is important. It's one thing to learn in school, and that's great. I do not discount that at all. I think there is value in quote unquote education. But I also think there's lots of times where it's really not that good. But as a parent, as a family office, or as someone who helps families, I think it's an obligation to engage the rising generation, to help to teach them a little bit of how it works in the real world, for them to get their hands dirty, to develop the confidence to fail, if I could use that word, really more to learn. And those are experiences. What family offices really want, God, I appear to be big on mentioning things in threes today. Results, access, and lesser so belonging, but results would certainly be number one. So what is that, like that big unique idea? I'm fleshing it out. I know I'm being maybe a little mysterious and not really sharing as much of it as I could, but I will be reaching out one by one to real single family offices. Now, again, I think that perhaps only even 1% really care about truly being incredible and being great. And I want to focus time and energy, perhaps to prove with that one family, maybe it's over the course of a full year, that they could do incredible things, likely with their current existing staff if they have one. Incredible things. There's incredible opportunities, and you need the opportunity to muster the resources, the time, and the energy around it, and some of the right other families, meaning connections, to really make magic happen, which is going to be not just in identifying the opportunity and having some of the resources to open through and blow through that door, but the magic is often in the execution. I have a big plan, and many of you over the course of this year will kind of see it maybe from afar play out, but the opportunity for one family, and I will price that accordingly. It's going to take a fair amount of my time. It's greatness or bust. There's no in between. There's no mediocrity. There's no it's okay. There's no it's good. I'm not even sure I'm happy when it's very good. Like, I want it to be utterly incredible, to be a change agent, even for a successful, financially successful, generational, newer entrepreneurial family. I don't care. Like, I just know there's tremendous opportunity out there now. And now is the time. If there's available liquidity and dry powder, the opportunity to be an investor right now in certain specific niches and opportunities is incredible. So let's see. What could it be? A little bit of what merchant banks were back in the day? Investment banks were the promise to be? Is this something that family offices could kind of pick up that mantle where things left off? Is artificial intelligence going to play into this? Maybe these are all things and around this idea that me and the Diamond Man himself, Ron, we'll talk about next week. I didn't run it by him. We'll see. I actually find it's best if you don't over prepare and have it be scripted and have the conversation kind of be more natural. So this has been great. It's a real live, I promise. Again, unless you're watching it on a recording. Happy to answer if there's any questions that come in. And any of you could always reach out to me. AngeloRobles.com is my website. Angelo at Angelo Robles is my email. And I'm very active on socials and direct messaging. So there's multiple avenues in terms of reaching out to me. And again, because I always have some new audience and people that are viewing in. Many people know me as the longtime founder and CEO at Family Office Association. Sold my interest about a year ago, traveled, went to the, the countryside, the mountains of Wyoming for a while, to Europe, met with amazing families, and launched a lot of, I think, hopefully, pretty incredible things out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So we're going to make that the new hub of family offices. Why don't the world needs to come to Jackson Hole? I don't know if they want to come right now in early February. I don't know if I want to be there then. But other than January and February, it's oh so beautiful. And there's incredible things to be done. So we all have our work cut out for us. I appreciate all of your support. I am more than alive and well. I am reinvigorated. I'm excited. I am full of ideas. I want to teach. Jump into my master classes. This is me taking personal responsibility for the greatness of these master classes, making it immersive, making it a mutual experience, and bringing in other instructors that, again, are the best in the world at what they do. Most of what I find out there to be educational and master classes is a joke. It's embarrassing. It's kind of a disgrace to the community. But again, why don't I be a little bit nicer for a change? I promise I'm not always such a curmudgeon. But I do get passionate about the community, and I do have strong opinions, apparently, even when I'm wrong, which I'm reminded is my fair share of the time. That's okay. I'm persistent. I get up, I learn, and I move forward. I'm happy. I appreciate all of you being a part of this. You could reach out to me anytime. And this is going to be an incredible year. Let's enjoy it together. Thank you so much.